Have you ever done something so simple, yet so special, that it became the highlight of your day? I did something with my dog every single night that brought us closer than ever before. It wasn't anything extravagant, but it became our thing, something that I looked forward to as soon as the sun started to set. And honestly, I didn't expect it to make such a big impact on both of us. But over time, it became clear that this nightly ritual was more than just a routine. It became our moment, a way to connect, unwind, and share a unique bond that I couldn't have imagined. Now, I know what you might be thinking: a nightly routine with my dog, what could be so special about that? We've all had those moments with our pets, right? A quick game of fetch, a cuddle on the couch, or even just a walk around the block. But what I did with my dog wasn't just about the typical things. There was something different about it, something that changed everything. It wasn't just for fun or out of habit. It became a source of joy, comfort, and sometimes, even a little bit of adventure. Each night, I would prepare for it like it was something more than just another task on my to-do list. My dog seemed to get just as excited as I did. There was a special anticipation in the air, as if we both knew something wonderful was about to unfold. But, I won't lie, it wasn't always easy. Some nights were harder than others, especially when life got in the way. But, no matter what, we made it work. That's when I realized how much we both needed this time together. But here's the thing: it wasn't always perfect. There were nights when things didn't go as planned. My dog would get distracted, or I'd get too tired to keep up with the routine. And yet, we'd both find a way to make it happen. It wasn't about perfection, it was about the connection, the comfort, and the love we shared in those moments. Sometimes, it felt like the world outside didn't even exist. It was just me and my dog, caught up in our own little world. So, what exactly did we do every night? Well, that's the part I'm excited to share with you. It wasn't what you'd expect, and I think you'll be surprised by how something so simple can make such a huge difference in both our lives. But, before I tell you everything, I want you to think about your own bond with your dog. What moments do you share with them that make you feel truly connected? Do you have something that brings you closer, something you can't wait to do together every day? Stick around, because the next part of this story will reveal how this simple nightly ritual led to something even bigger, a discovery that changed the way I see my relationship with my dog. It all started when I realized how much time I was spending on my own in the evenings. I'd come home from work, make dinner, and then just kind of drift through the night. Sure, I had my dog, but the truth is, we were both kind of stuck in a routine. I'd give him his meals, take him for a walk, and then we'd sit together on the couch for a while. But it felt like something was missing. It was as if we were both going through the motions, and I couldn't help but wonder, is this all we're doing? One evening, I had this thought: what if we started doing something together that would actually make both of us feel connected? Something that wasn't just a regular walk or another round of fetch. I wanted to create a space where we could both unwind and enjoy each other's company without distractions. But it needed to be something different, something that would stand out from the usual routine. I wasn't sure what that would look like, but I knew that I was willing to try anything. So, I decided to start small. One night, I grabbed a blanket, turned off the lights, and just laid down on the floor. My dog looked at me, tilting his head as if asking, "What's going on here?" I gave him a couple of pats and smiled. "Come on, buddy, let's just relax for a bit." At first, he seemed confused. He'd been used to me being on the couch or in my chair, but lying on the floor together. That was new. But eventually, he crawled over to me, and after some time, he curled up by my side. It felt good, just being there with him, no phones, no TV, no distractions. It was a moment of calm, a quiet space that felt like our own little world. Over the next few nights, I kept repeating this simple act. I'd sit on the floor, sometimes with a soft playlist in the background, sometimes in complete silence, just letting the stillness surround us. And slowly, something shifted. It was like we both started looking forward to those moments. My dog would get excited when he saw me getting ready for our little ritual. And I, too, began to crave that peaceful, uninterrupted time with him. But here's the thing, this simple act of laying on the floor together became more than just relaxation. It sparked something deeper. We started to communicate in ways I hadn't expected. Little looks, small gestures, my dog started responding in a way that made me realize we were building a new kind of trust, a connection that went beyond the usual routine. It was almost like we were speaking without words, sharing something deeper. But, as with anything new, there was a catch. This wasn't as easy as it seemed. It wasn't long before I started noticing something strange. As we continued our nightly ritual, there was something about it that didn't sit right with me. Something else seemed to be happening. It wasn't just about the time we spent together, it was about what was changing within both of us. I wasn't sure if I was just imagining things, or if this nightly routine had somehow triggered something unexpected. But I knew I needed to figure it out. The more I continued the nightly ritual with my dog, the more I started noticing things that made me uneasy. It wasn't just the quiet time, or the way my dog seemed to be more alert than usual during our sessions. It was the feeling that something was shifting in him, in both of us, and I couldn't quite explain it. One night, about a week into our routine, something happened that I didn't see coming. As we were lying there, just enjoying the stillness, my dog suddenly got up, his eyes wide and fixated on the corner of the room. His posture was tense, and he was staring at something that I couldn't see. My heart started to race. "What is it, buddy?" I asked softly, but he didn't respond. He didn't even look at me. He just kept staring, as though there was something there that only he could sense. I tried to shrug it off, convincing myself that it was probably just a shadow or something outside the window, but the uneasy feeling lingered. The next few nights were similar. My dog's behavior became more erratic. Sometimes, he would bark at nothing, other times he would become so still that I'd wonder if he was hearing something I couldn't. And I couldn't help but wonder, was this connected to our nightly ritual? I started to question whether this quiet time was somehow affecting him in ways I didn't understand. There were other moments, too. I found myself thinking about it more than I should. I started to feel a strange sense of anticipation before every session, as if I was preparing for something beyond our usual routine. Was I overthinking it? Was I just looking for something unusual because the ritual had started to feel so significant? I wasn't sure what was happening, but I knew something was off. And every time I thought about stopping, the connection we were building pulled me back in. It felt like there was a part of this story that I was missing, a piece of the puzzle that I couldn't quite fit into place. And I couldn't stop myself from wanting to uncover it. The nights were starting to feel different, heavier, almost as if the air itself was charged with something I couldn't identify. Every time we began our ritual, the tension between my dog and me seemed to grow. I glanced at my dog, who suddenly stopped growling. His body stiffened, his eyes wide with fear, but not fear of the unknown. Fear of something he recognized. Before I could process it, my dog bolted forward, breaking free from my grip, and ran toward the fence. "No, wait!" I shouted, but it was too late. He was already at the edge of the yard, standing between me and whatever was out there. In that moment, I saw it, a shadow darting across the fence, too quick to be human, too strange to be anything natural. My dog barked loudly, a desperate, piercing sound. The thing beyond the fence didn't seem to care. It just kept moving, as though it was toying with us. My heart skipped a beat as the realization hit me, the scratching sound, the eerie growls, it wasn't just a random event. It was something intentional, something that had been waiting for us. I rushed toward my dog, but as I reached the edge of the yard, something cold brushed against my skin. I looked around, thinking maybe it was just the wind, but the air felt different. Heavier. The tension was unbearable, and just as I turned to pull my dog back, a voice, clear as day, whispered from the darkness, "You shouldn't have come here." I froze. The voice was low, almost melodic, but carried an unmistakable threat. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what was happening. Who was out there? What did they want? And why did this feel so connected to our nightly ritual? Something was happening, something bigger than just a strange occurrence. But I didn't know if I was ready for what was coming next. My breath caught in my throat as the voice echoed in the darkness, chilling me to my core. "You shouldn't have come here." The words hung in the air, heavy with a strange sense of finality. My dog was still frozen, staring into the blackness beyond the fence, his body rigid. Whatever was out there, he knew it, and it was clear that it wasn't just some animal or passing figure. This was something else, something waiting. I took a step back, trying to process the reality of what was happening. My mind raced, but the silence that followed the voice only deepened my fear. Was it a person? Or something more? I stood there for a long moment, feeling utterly helpless, the cold air biting at my skin. Then, my dog's growls shifted. This time, they were low, almost mournful, like he was warning me. I had no choice. I grabbed his collar and pulled him back with all my strength, my heart pounding as the darkness seemed to press in from all sides. We backed away from the fence, inching toward the door, when suddenly, the scratching noise returned, closer this time. My body stiffened as I looked around. It wasn't coming from the fence anymore. It was coming from the house. Panic surged through me. I swung around, nearly tripping over my own feet. The front door was wide open, the light from inside spilling out like a beacon. But as I moved closer, something in the doorway caught my eye. A figure, standing in the shadows, just inside my house, its silhouette barely visible in the dim light. I stood frozen, terror locking my limbs. The figure stepped forward, and in the faint glow, I saw the unmistakable features of my dog. My dog. The creature, its eyes glowing in the dim light, looked at me with a chilling familiarity, the same way my dog would, but its expression was wrong, unnatural. This thing wasn't my dog. It was an imposter, a twisted version of him. I stumbled backward, nearly falling as I realized the truth. The nightly ritual wasn't just about bonding, it was a trap. Something had been feeding off the connection, manipulating the bond between me and my dog, using it to draw me into this nightmare. The voice, now clearer, closer, whispered again, this time with a laugh, "You've already invited it in. You're too late." In that moment, I understood. The ritual wasn't just about us, it was a doorway, a bridge, and I had unknowingly opened it. As the fake dog lunged toward me, everything went black, leaving me with only the distant echo of a whispering voice and the unsettling feeling that, somehow, it was just the beginning. I woke up with a start, my body cold, and my heart racing. I was lying on the floor of my living room, my dog's familiar, comforting presence at my side. He was curled up next to me, just like he always had been during our nightly ritual. But everything felt wrong, like I had just woken up from a nightmare that was far too real. I sat up, my mind spinning. What had just happened? Was it real? Had I imagined the creature, the voice, the eerie figure in the doorway? I looked around the room. Everything appeared normal, no sign of an intruder, no broken windows or open doors. But the sense of dread lingered. There was something in the air, something off. I glanced at my dog, who was looking at me with those same familiar eyes, his tail wagging slowly, as if nothing had happened. But something had changed. I wasn't sure if it was just the fear or if I was seeing him differently, but in that moment, I realized how fragile the line between reality and something darker had become. I had to get answers. I knew now that the connection we'd formed during those nights together wasn't just about bonding. It had unlocked something I wasn't prepared for. As much as I wanted to forget about it, I knew I couldn't. I needed to understand what had happened, what that creature had wanted, and why it had come after us. And most of all, I needed to know if the door we had opened could ever be closed. Weeks passed, and I tried to go back to my normal routine, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was always just beneath the surface. I did some research, looking into old rituals, myths, anything that might explain what had happened. And the more I dug, the more I realized that some things weren't meant to be understood. Some doors, once opened, could never truly be closed. I never stopped doing our nightly ritual, though. In a way, it became more important than ever. Every night, I sat with my dog, always vigilant, always questioning. Had we really escaped? Or had the ritual just been the beginning of something much bigger? The truth was, I would never truly know. But one thing was certain, no matter how strange or terrifying the night may be, I would never stop sharing those quiet moments with my dog. Because sometimes, the bond we share is stronger than the darkness that waits at the edges of our world. And in the end, maybe that's all that matters.